All right. What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. I have a bit of a head cold, if you can't already tell, but it's okay. Feel good. See a lot of y'all in the chat. Thanks for hanging. I realize it's late for some of you, so maybe this is like the Americanized live stream, but don't worry, we'll do more for those of you that are across the pond. If you are staying up and it's like 4 in the morning for you, thank you very much. I appreciate it. This is my buddy Greg. He is telling me that everything seems to be working. If you see Greg in the chat, say, hey, he's helping me do this because I've never done these before. I've never done a live YouTube stream. So this is the first one, and I thought it would be fun to talk about the new record a little bit. I thought we could all listen to the first 5 tunes. It's a 10-song record, so we'll just do it in halves. And yeah, I've been getting a lot of questions on Instagram and stuff like that about the music, so I figured we'd just go live and we can just talk about them all. Talk about as much as you want. I remember most of the gear that I used to do it. I remember how most of the songs go, I think. But we'll go ahead and get started. Oh, there's a question from Greg. I'll go ahead and get to him. How deep is your love of the baritone and when did it start? My relationship with the baritone guitar, the very first time I ever played one was in a recording studio and just used it as like a textural part on a rock song that I was doing with this band I used to have. Definitely not in a funk context at all. But that grew when I was working on a song for Snarky Puppy called Jefe, which is a bonus track on Culture Vulture. I wanted to write a tune that was kind of funky, but we had been using baritones in the band a little bit kind of in like an indie rock or like a almost singer-songwriter context. If you check out any of the Family Dinner stuff, there's quite a bit of baritone guitar on that, but it's not in a funk context. So I said, well, I'm writing this tune for Snarky Puppy. What can I do that might make it a little bit different? And so I decided to throw out the baritone guitar and wrote this riff that became this tune, Jefe. And I realized, how much I loved hearing it with the band and how funky it felt, and sort of like, hey, this is cool. You get this like the snap of a guitar, but the thump of a bass and the laugh of a 4-year-old. That's what happens in our house in the evening. So anyway, and a noisy microphone. But anyway, so I was like, this instrument's really kind of something new. And so I'm going to start writing funk music with it. And so that's where it all started. But enough talking. Time for some rocking. So I want to play the first tune. If should have been right there in the main release. Well, maybe so. Who knows? Let's see. This first tune, this one actually started as one of the original Baritone Funk Thursday demos, and it was written around a Fisher-Price Laugh and Learn that has this little toy keyboard on it, and there's 4 keys, and they all have different colors, and one key is red. And I just hit the red key over and over again to a click, and just harmonized a bunch of chords over this note. Right? And then made this tune. You know what I mean? So this is Red Dwarf. I'm gonna mute my mic when I play it too. So. Derek Bennett on bass guitar there, Jason Thomas on drums, and Justin Stanton on keyboards. very proud of this bridge. JT with the triplets. Minneapolis by way of Texas. Part was written on a MIDI guitar. All right, so that was Red Dwarf. And a little bit of background, maybe just about the record in general. So the theme was Deep Space, if you haven't figured that out. The first record was Deep Sea, so we had all the fish names, you know, the fish species titles. And all of these are sort of stellar phenomena, the titles. So Red Dwarf, Magnetar, Pulsar. Voyager 1 was a spaceship, actually. It was the first one that I think they sent towards Jupiter or something, but we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, so another piece of information about the record, trying to answer some of these questions. Thank you for sending them, guys and gals. It was mixed by Mr. Maxwell Stark, which it sounds like the coolest comic book name in the world, but that's actually his real name. And he and I have been working together for a really long time with an artist named Anthony Evans, who's a really fantastic kind of gospel R&B pop singer. Max also works with Tori Kelly, Kirk Franklin, so we've been in the studio a lot together. Max is an incredible producer in his own right, and he's great mixing. And so he did Deep Baritone Sessions Volume 1, and so obviously I wanted to have him come back and do Volume 2. So he did every song except the last track, Sublight, which was mixed by my longtime engineer, Joey Lomas, who has done Spark and Echo and things of that nature, and my more kind of traditional instrumental music. So Max mixed it. It was mastered by Marco Schneider over in Germany. And produced by me. So trying to get a couple of these. That's Derek Bennett on bass, one of the finest bass players around these days. He and I met at the International Musicians Summit in North Carolina and got to play a little bit together there, and did an impromptu jam at a NAMM show maybe 2 years ago or something, and stayed in touch. He did like a little Instagram jam over the earlier demo of Daggertooth, which was a baritone song, and I was like, man, I gotta get this guy on a record because he plays such awesome bass. So I programmed the track, did a pretty extensive demo, went into the studio with JT, Jason Thomas, the drummer, and he cut the track. He did Red Dwarf, Tidal Tail, Supernova, and Starcatchers, all in about an hour, if that, maybe even less. He's very fast. So I had the drums. There we go. That was weird. Sorry, guys. We what was I saying? Yeah. So I had the drums. I sent it to Justin to do his synth wizardry with a little bit of direction from me, but mostly he just kind of did his thing, which is why he's so amazing with these soundscapes and these effects and these chord voicings and everything. And then Derek put his bass on it, and I kind of gave him a little bit of a demo bass part, but it wasn't very good. So he just obviously took it to outer space, and that was the track. And so, yeah, the guitars primarily was this Dan Electro into my Kemper. I can't remember the profile. It may have been a Bassman. One of the tracks has an MXR octave pedal on it. The little kind of like filtered fuzz wah thing in the bridge is a Walrus Audio Kangra pedal, which is the Jared Scharf signature pedal. And then some of that sort of Prince funk rhythm stuff in the vamp is the first Fiore prototype. This is actually tuned to B now, but back then it was not. It was tuned standard. So all those little funky niblets there are the Fiore. And that tune came together pretty quick, actually. I mean, the form is essentially a pop song with frills, as are most of the forms to my music. It's sort of like verse, chorus, verse, chorus. In this case, it's kind of like a chorus, verse, bridge, and then a vamp with a lot of stuff in it, and then a little soli, which I actually wrote on a MIDI guitar, which is this over here. I think I just called up like it's got the Fishman triple play MIDI controller in here. And I just called up a synth bass patch and improvised something, and it ended up sounding pretty melodic, so I kept it. Russell asked, would you expand the baritone into other styles in future volumes or keep it funky? Well, I've been writing a little bit on it lately, and it's sort of turned a little bit heavier than normal, so maybe I'll be doing some more heavy stuff coming up. But I think the style that I've kind of created here with baritone funk is pretty broad. So I think as long as it's grooving, it can sort of take on any form. I mean, this record has some almost like country music grooves on it. So in a sense, there are no limits as long as it's grooving, you know. So thanks. That's a great question, though, man. Let's see. Any other questions about this tune? Anthony Evans is, in fact, Tony Evans' son. Yes, that's correct. Tony Evans, the pastor. Very, very smart dude. Let's see. I'm scrolling. You guys got a lot of them here. I appreciate the interaction here. Cool. Well, let's say so. Oh, thank you, Romeo. I appreciate that, man. Hopefully, I can keep making cool shit. You guys will keep listening to it. But all right, this is what Dan Electro is this? This is the 56 reissue. I think it's a serial number 33124, made in Korea. I think I got it on Reverb.com. They're like $400, maybe $300 or something like that. It's great, you know. This is sort of the standard baritone sound, you know. The Dan Electro is one of the more traditional sort of sound that you would hear when you think of baritone guitar. But, you know, if you play them funky, then it kind of becomes its own thing, you know what I'm saying? So it does Lettieri gent. Well, maybe. We'll see. I don't know. I got to be careful going into too many styles. If they don't feel authentic, then I'm not going to do it. So I would not say that I'm going to tackle djent, but there may be a sprinkle of djent, perhaps. Just as though there's a sprinkle of country music or a sprinkle of hip hop or something like that you might hear throughout these tunes. But that's Red Dwarf. And a cool thing about that little bass chordal figure was something that Derek just did. I didn't ask him to do that, and I got to that part of the track and I was like, oh, that was nice. And so took one of the Justin synths, and I forget how that happened. If the synth happened after the bass or the bass happened after the synth. But either way, we ended up with that low kind of moody synth underneath the bass chords at the end there. I thought that was a really cool way to kind of intro the record and then end the song. So what gauge strings do you use on baritone guitar? These are Dunlop 14 to 68, so they're pretty large. On the shorter scale baritones, actually I think that Supra still has 14s, but the Fiore now that is tuned to B has 13s. So generally 14 gauge. These are tuned in A, the traditional scale ones, and then the shorter scale baritones I tune to B. Right. So how about another tune? All right, because that's why we're here, and I'll kind of talk during them, so it's not just me standing here kind of bopping my head. But do I happen to know what type of synth Justin played? Justin used, I think, mostly soft synths for that stuff, and he is a wizard at that stuff. Because he's in Portugal right now, and so he has a different rig over there at his home there. Normally he plays a lot of analog stuff, and more of a snarky puppy, but he's got the coolest sounds with his soft synth stuff. So I just kind of give him a little bit of direction, and then he just kind of takes it and runs with it. So the next tune on the record also started kind of like a funny Instagram thing. It was a riff that I kind of heard in my head sort of as I was finishing up a run around the neighborhood, and decided to work it out and post it on Instagram. And enough of you were like, what the heck, make this a song. So I did. And I called my buddy Adam Deitch, who we'd been talking about working together after the first baritone record came out. He's always been a drummer that I've wanted to play with, and so I called him up, and he recorded his drums in Denver, where he lives. And funny thing to mention, all these tunes were actually recorded remotely. The only two people on the record that were in the same room at the same time were when I was producing JT in the studio doing his drums. Everybody else was spread out. A couple guys had brought in an engineer to work with them. But as far as actual players, everyone was spread around the globe, which I thought was pretty cool. And then I took all the sessions files and produced it all here at the home studio. So anyway, next tune features Adam Deitch and one of my best buddies in the world, Mr. Sean Martin, on keyboards. You might know him from Snarky Puppy. Adam Deitch plays in an incredible band called Lettice, which has been an influence of mine, ever since college, I think. So it's kind of cool getting to play with people that really influenced you. So this is Magnetar. Very interested to know what the bass guitar was on this one, so I'll tell you when the song's done. Adam also did his own percussion on this track as well, so the tambourine and all the congas are him too. Sean's grand entrance. So yes, we like Prince. Rest in peace. Here comes Sean screaming into the void. Right on, right on, right on. That was Magnetar. And a couple interesting factoids about that. The majority of the guitars, at least the main riff, I recorded using a Neural DSP plugin, designed in part by my good friend Pliny. He has a really cool plugin, and that actually made its appearance on a couple tracks on this record. And so I used, it was one of the clean amps or something, and I just kind of hit it a little hard and got some overdrive out of it. So that's how the main riff came together. The bass track, oh, hey, look, Sean's texting me right now. Did I embarrass him? Oh, no, I think I owe him money. All right, likely story. All right, so anyway, the bass on that track was this, and this is a Hybrid Guitars Big 6. It's tuned in bass octave, but it's tuned like a guitar. So if I plug it in and give you guys some sound from it, that would be good. So it's a bass, but also a guitar. So I can play an E chord and it becomes a bass. So you can play these pretty cool picked bass lines with this thing, and it registers, or you can, they're like guitar lines really, but it registers like a bass. So super fun. The bass on that song is this. The bass on Title Tale is also this. So let's see. I'm trying to get some of these questions. They're coming by a little fast, which is no problem. Yeah, that is a Yamaha THR5 right there. It's a great little practice amp. What new challenges presented themselves during this remote process? None. Thankfully. I think the only maybe sometimes it's hard to schedule, I guess, because you're working with people in different time zones, maybe, or on, obviously different schedules. But everyone that I played with on this record, I knew personally, so the communication was very smooth, and everyone was really stoked to be part of it, which I'm very grateful for. So pretty much everybody, got their stuff back to me really quick, which was great. So, and then I sort of just produced it all here. So I rearranged things and, EQ'd things and moved things around a little bit, but not too much, just kind of kept everything pretty much to the label there. So, let's see. Yeah, I am still using the Nailer. It's a great amp. I love that amp. Never getting rid of it. Do you like glam rock? Some of it. Hair metal? Some of it. So let's see. But yeah, so we kind of did there's like a little bit of a Prince section there in the vamp, and then the solo section I thought was very kind of Daft Punk-esque. So I thought that the vocoder would be cool because that Daft Punk record has a lot of vocoder in it, which really kind of all came from Herbie Hancock. There's a record of his called Sunlight where he's singing a lot through a vocoder, and it's really, really cool. And so we wanted to give a little bit of that flavor. Charlie Hunter on Deep 3, that would be pretty fun, wouldn't it? Yeah, maybe we should do that. So that's Magnetar. It's track 2 on the record. The bridge guitars on that were the Bocce, which is down here. The Bocce did the bridge. And then the little funky auxiliary stuff was the Fiore again. That guitar got a lot of airtime on this record. So, and it was kind of when we were sending prototype ideas back and forth. So it was fun to kind of test some stuff that way. Yeah, this guitar actually is very Charlie Hunterish because he's part of the company. So this was a gift essentially from them. And Charlie and Wes and Clay, the guys at Hybrid Guitars, and they make some really insane stuff. But I've been using this thing a ton. It's a really, really, really cool piece of gear. So let's see. When you're composing, how do you normally get from guitar riff to the full track in terms of working out those incredible transitions? Well, a lot of elbow grease. My phone is littered with demos and 30-second ideas and whatever, and then I just kind of find the ones that have the most internal depth, no pun intended, and work those out and see where they go. Some of them don't go anywhere, and then other times, if I can sort of apply them or associate them with a larger idea or feeling or event or something, then they can kind of turn into a little bit more of a composition, So, let's see. Do you use any computer simulated amp well, I just said I used quite a bit of neural DSP stuff on this record. So if it sounds good, I'll play it. I don't really care how many ones and zeros are behind it at this point. So let's get on to track number 3. Unless anybody has any more questions about Magnetar, feel free. That's why we're here, to talk about this stuff. So what baritone guitar would you recommend for someone just starting with the whole baritone thing? I would get a Dan Electro. They sound great. It's a very traditional sound, and they're very affordable. PRS also makes a really cool baritone. It's a little more expensive, but it's a very high quality instrument for what you get, and it's very, very comfortable to play. It's over here. I'll grab it in a second, but I'll just grab it now. Whoa, rolling over my cable. This is a SE277, which just recently got, and it's really great. I've been playing this one live because it's a very easy playing guitar. Baritones can be a little bit cumbersome sometimes, but this one, you really fly on it. And it's got a bit of a heavier sound, so I actually just split the coil here and leave it pretty much on the bridge pickup split for most of the gig. Occasionally I'll put it in the center. Maybe if I'm playing Tidal Tail or something like that, but let's listen to... That's not going to stay. I'm just lining guitars up over here. All right, let's listen to, what's the story behind the name Magnetar? Actually, that's a really good question, because a lot of these names I kind of just pulled off of Wikipedia, because I was like, well, I need some names that involve deep space and stuff like that. And so I read a lot, didn't remember much of the facts, but just the way that the words sounded reminded me, or helped me kind of pick which tune they should go to. So I think Supernova maybe has the most meaning, because I'd look at that song as like a complete explosion, right? Like a supernova. Magnetar, Red Dwarf, Pulsar, they're all different types of star states of matter or something like that. So this is the, lose my mic again. This is the stellar portion of the record here. So this next tune is called Pulsar. Justin Stanton's also on keys on this. He plays key bass too on this one too. And he played key bass on Red Dwarf. Actually, I failed to mention that. The bass on Red Dwarf switches between Justin playing key bass and Derek playing string bass. And on Pulsar, it's primarily key bass. And there's a little bit of slap bass from me, just for effect on certain sections. And then Robert Seawright, aka Sput, one of my dear friends, played the drums on this one. And I'll tell you a cool story about that after we listen to the tune. So this is called Pulsar. And it's got a guitar solo. First guitar solo on the record. Here we go. You can tell Sput a mile away, right? The drummer is Robert Sput Seawright, and he's on drum set number 3 of 3. All right, so that was Pulsar featuring Mr. Robert Sput Seawright of the band Ghost Note and Snarky Puppy. All these fellas that I've been mentioning that played on this record, they all have their own projects. So I highly recommend that you check out the credits to this record, which are listed on my website or on Bandcamp or on Tidal. Pretty easy to find, and get their stuff because it's all really, really freaking good. So anyway, couple stuff about Pulsar. So as somebody pointed out, I love the different snare sounds. There's 3 drum sets on this tune. I sent it to him, this is Sput, and he calls me back and goes, "Hey man, it's gonna take a minute. I'm putting 3 drum sets on it." And when Sput says that, you don't go, no, just put one. You just let him do it, because then you get this just madness. And so he played I don't know what the kits were, but one was labeled like Groove Kit, one was labeled Cocktail Kit, and one was labeled Big Kit. So in the solo, it was this big room kit, and everything kind of had this verb, and it was tuned really low, really thuddy. The Cocktail Kit was really tight. He used that on the B sections, and then the main groove was the main groove kit for the A sections. And then in the end, it's the main groove kit and the Cocktail Kit. Somebody asked if there are MIDI drums on. There are no MIDI drums on this stuff. There's some loops that I do that I programmed in there, and then like some kind of little stuff from Logic that I throw in there, but no actual like drums are MIDI. So then Justin played this awesome keybase stuff and all the cool little sprinkles and great voicings. This tune was pretty cool. Kind of went from a skeleton based off of a groove that I threw on Instagram again that I thought sounded cool and ended up turning it into a song. A lot of the clean rhythm guitar stuff was a Fiore prototype, and then the solo was my old trusty Don Grosh. The guitar just sounds incredible, So it was a nice marriage of the Grosh and the PRS there on one track. And that solo tune tone was another Pliny plug-in actually from Neural DSP. Really great kind of modern distorted sustained sound, which I think really fit the composition. I wanted it to really feel futuristic, and so that Neural stuff is great for taking it to the year 2100 or something, whatever. Okay, yeah, there's some questions here. Sorry, y'all. I'm trying to do this as best I can, but y'all are being very patient. Thank you. So Sput sent me 3 drum sets, and I called Max, the mixer. I was like, Sput's got 3 drum sets. Can you handle it? And he was like, yeah, man. So that was pretty cool how he put all that together. And then the bass, the little bass that you hear, the slap bass, was my exotic P bass there. And the bulk of that track, the A section, is the bocce that's playing the... Right, and then the B section, I just wanted a contrast between 2 staccato baritone riffs. That was the... That was the Dan Electro. Little tip, in a couple weeks, we're going to have tablature for this entire record. Every single tiny morsel of guitar orchestration that you hear is tabbed. So the tabs are pretty involved. We put them in Guitar Pro. Well, I didn't. A gentleman by the name of Luke Bowman, who does incredible transcriptions, has been working his butt off on this stuff, and they're great. They're accurate. The hand positioning is the way that I play them. And every little fill and harmony part is pretty much in there. So if you're into that sort of thing, if you want to take a deep dive into all the little parts, we're going to have transcriptions for you. If you haven't gotten the record, I hope that you do. There's a link right here. You can go straight to my website, download it from all your favorite spots, Bandcamp, iTunes, whatever. You could stream it if that's your thing, or you can buy some vinyl. We got vinyl, we got some CDs. I'll sign them for you, and I'm shipping them out of my friggin' living room. Looks like UPS in there, you know what I'm saying? So I recommend the vinyl. It sounds like insanely good. So there are not tabs for Deep Volume 1. Basically, what Luke and I decided to do was start with a new record and then work our way backwards. So we'll get the rest of Spark and Echo done, the rest of Things of That Nature done. If I don't kill him first with all these guitar parts. I mean, he works incredibly fast as is, but he's like, all right, okay. I send him stems. There's like 12, 14 stems of guitars, you know, and he puts them all together. So the other stuff he could probably do in 5 minutes. But anyway, which form of digital purchase supports you the most? That's a very good question. The long and short of it is Bandcamp does. If you'd like to do Bandcamp, and then, you know, iTunes, basically any sort of downloading thing is going to be better than streaming. That's just kind of the way it is. But anyway, so you know, or you can get a vinyl, because I'm just into the vinyl thing these days. Like, there's a record store down the street, and I'm always going and getting. I think I got like a Journey record the last time I was there. Cool. So, any questions about Pulsar before we move on to track number 4? I appreciate you guys hanging out. I don't want to keep you here all night, especially those of y'all that are, you know, like it's like 5 in the morning in Paris or something. But I'll get going. Let's see. So the next track, I like this one. This one's funky. I'm going to give the chat a second to come up, and if anybody has any questions about Pulsar before I move on, and I will drink my water. Hope you heard me swallowing into the microphone. That's gross. All right. Well, I'll get to them after we're done with this song. Next one. This is Tidal Tale. And where can you get her vinyl? You can get a vinyl from my website, marklettieri.com. Actually, if you go to, there's a link tree in the description on this video that'll take you right there. All right, this one's called Tidal Tale. Jason Thomas is on drums. I am on everything with strings, and Bobby Sparks, one of my favorite humans, quite possibly the world's funkiest human, perhaps. I might vote for him as the world's funkiest human. He played all the keyboards on this stuff. Cool, really cool analog CP70 and organ and ARP synthesizer and Moog, stuff like that. So a lot of cool sounds in this one. Well, I'll tell you more about it when we finish it. So this is Tidal Tale. So that bass is the big 6 again. Ebo. All right, that was Title Tale. I feel like a radio DJ. All right, that was Title Tale from Mark Lettieri. Yeah, so, okay, a couple of questions in here that are really good. It does have a Fearless Flyers vibe, I think, possibly because I wrote it or started writing it in the hotel room during the Tailwinds session. The original title was Swingin' in Sherman Oaks, which is where we were staying when we were recording that record. So that original riff, this was written during those sessions. I kind of look at this tune as like if Steely Dan made an R&B record in the early 90s with Brendan O'Brien producing or something like that. Brendan O'Brien did a bunch of grunge stuff. But yeah, to me, this sounds like Steely Dan meets Tony meets Stone Temple Pilots or something like that, which three very big influences of mine. So like, here we are, right? That's how sausage is made, kids. This is a great question from Lord Orjun, which is a cool name, dude. How did you decide who was going to play on each record? This record was fun because I basically just called all of my favorite musicians who were also my friends, thankfully. And each player I know has a unique thing that they do. They can all do a million things really well, but they are all still individuals. And so I wanted to make sure that each tune had something where they could really tap into their unique DNA and explore that on each song. So that's why JT and Bobby are on this one. JT and Bobby are on a couple of these tracks too. But and then yeah, I did all the guitars. Some of those baritones were just DI straight into the computer. In fact, I think that's what the two main riffs are. There's an octave pedal on one of them. I wanted it to sound like a couple guitar players playing together, so the parts aren't exactly super stereo precise, and that's kind of by design. I didn't want it to sound too tight or quantized or something like that, so it's supposed to have a little bit of a push and pull to it on purpose. There's kind of like guitar player one who plays the line up here, kind of with like an open sound, and then there's guitar player two who's playing it down there. So same part, phrased two different ways, two different parts of my brain, I guess. So that's Title Tale. Yeah, there's an Ebo on it. Here you go. What pedals were you using for the background textural parts? That was a Kemper, and I think the chorus sound came from Logic, I believe. Yeah, the vibrato sound, the chorus sound is all Logic plugins. The B section chords, that kind of shimmery stuff, well, it's the bridge really, is the Supro, which is tuned to B, so I could get some different open string voicings on top of the other part, this part, that part, which is tuned in A. And then with the Supro, you can get like these cool open string chords. It's not really in tune, but you know, you get the idea. And what we've actually done, a little spoiler alert, for this tune and for Pulsar, I went ahead and did some like guitar playthrough videos where I'm essentially like playing along, kind of miming kind of the parts. You'll see exactly how they come. I hate miming. It sucks. Because so much of what I do is kind of off the cuff and improvised, so I'm going to go back and learn it. But it's probably the only way I can get you guys this content and sort of how it's supposed to look and feel, because I didn't film any of the sessions. So we'll just do it after the fact. MTV, music video stuff. But pretty much what I'm playing it's pretty accurate. I'd say about 95% of the way there. You can tell me if stuff doesn't totally line up. But anyway, looks cool. My good friend Andy LaViolet and Patrick Crane filmed that stuff, so that'll be coming out soon. Let's see. So I'm gonna get. Sorry, my mic keeps dropping out. I think my computer's about to explode. It's old, but excuse me. So I'd love to get a vinyl of the record. Do you ship internationally? I do, and I will be. Probably Monday. Taking a whole rack of these suckers. So thank you if you purchased one. I really, really appreciate that. Have you ever collaborated with Charlie Hunter? Yeah, we've done a lot together, man. He's the homie. He's a good friend there. We've worked with Snarky Puppy together. He's done some recordings with us. We've been on the road together. Call each other and talk shit all the time. He's a great cat. So yeah, we'd be good to do some more music with him. And he's always got projects coming out too, so make sure y'all check out what he's doing. Yep, there is an EBO there. I don't EBO very much, but when I do, I EBO. So I don't know. I didn't want to do a synth. I wanted it to be a guitar. And Bobby, awesome with great textures on that stuff. But yeah, so that's Tidal Tale. What was crazy about it is in the second verse, there's that kind of where it flips the beat, that little thing, and JT played it down perfectly the first time, and I just had to laugh because he's really good like that. So yes, Charlie Hunter was on Family Dinner Volume 2, and his duo with Lucy Woodward, actually it's a trio with Keita Ogawa, has played numerous shows with Snarky Puppy. So we've been doing this about an hour. I think I'm going to slow down and get to the last song here. We're going to do part 2 in a couple days, the second half of the record, if you'd like to join me for that. I haven't scheduled it yet, but hopefully I can try to do it a little earlier in the day so that my overseas friends are not going to be up all night. But I appreciate you hanging out with us, with me. With us. We're family here. All right, so final track on the record. This was called Voyager 1, and I think it features quite possibly the funkiest moment of music I've ever recorded, and I'm not even playing during that section, which is probably why it's so funky. There's an interchange between Nate Smith and Bobby Sparks, who were not in the same room, mind you. Nate did his stuff in Nashville at a studio, and Bobby recorded his stuff here in Texas at home. Bobby recorded his parts to my programmed drums, and then Nate recorded his drums to my guitars and Bobby's keyboards, and it sounds like the two of them were in like this close to each other. I mean, it's nuts. So Nate's also on Blue Straggler, of course, with Travis Toy and Jacob Collier doing some really cool vocal stuff. So we'll actually talk about that tune in the next installment of the listening party, if you all would like to come back. So I'll play it, and we can talk a little bit more about it. All right, here is Voyager 1. instrument. Nate has a very, very singular sound. Bobby's always wanted to play with him, so I said, I will figure out a way to make this happen. Love Nate's hi-hat work on this. Bobby with the whammy wah clav, signature Bobby Sparks. It's the mothership. Triads. Let's move them around, kids. All right, here we go. Bobby Sparks is the world's funkiest bass player, and he plays keyboards. Nate's just bubbling on the snare. All right, that was Voyager 1. Yeah. Little backstory about that one. That actually started as a demo for the Fearless Flyers, but I guess I kept it for myself. But wanted to get Nate involved, obviously, because he's Nate, and he does stuff like what you just heard. So that's why he's here. Because he's Nate freaking Smith. Yeah, Ghost Notes, maybe a little bit of Pretty Shuffle in there. And I somebody asked the question, was it weird not having people in the room? And yeah, I mean, sure, I missed that interaction of playing with musicians, but I think the kind of the beauty of this record was getting everybody's parts back and listening to them and just back adding a huge smile on my face. Like, for example, that interplay between the two of them during Bobby's little solo, I was just like, how in the world did they do this? And they were 5,000 miles away from each other, so really, really beautifully funky moment in that tune. The guitars are primarily it's the Bocce and the Dan Electro, the Big Six, and I played the P bass on that for some of the bass line stuff, and then obviously Bobby's left hand doing the key bass stuff, which is just maniacal. And so yeah, we have that little. We have that little riff where the triads. All those little major triads moving underneath that one riff. That was a thing that I had written out, and Bobby replaced it with his great sounds and everything, and added the clav and the key bass and everything. And I'm really proud of this song. If you can't tell, I really think it came out great. So that's Voyager 1. Let me see if there's some stuff I'm missing. Yeah, a lot of triplets happening. I love triplets. They feel great. So let's see. Trying to think, who are you going to take on keys with you when you tour? Well, right now I've got a really killer player here from Texas named Daniel Porter, and he's a really, really talented young guy and really deep into getting as many of these weird sounds as possible without 80 trillion keyboards. But he sounds awesome on the gig, and the live band is him, myself, Wes Stevenson, and Jason Thomas. And we played about 5 or 6 of these tunes for the first time just the other night in Fort Worth, and they felt great. It felt really cool. We're kind of working them out, so like I'm playing the most important parts of the songs, not all of them, but I've noticed, especially with a smaller band, here's a little piece of advice. If you just play something simple but tight and together, it sounds a lot bigger than if you play a lot of things not tightly, right? So we will lock into a very simple groove or one of the grooves without all the auxiliary stuff, and it still sounds big because we're tight, right? So a little bit of live performance knowledge there for you. At least in my opinion, that tends to be what works. But who gave the dislike? Oh, I don't know. There's always one, right? You want Voyager 2. We need a Voyager 2. Is there a Voyager 2? Did NASA do one? I guess, yeah, you'll have to let me know. How's things in North Texas? Doing good. It's kind of cold here, though, strangely. So yeah, it's a quartet, but yeah, we might bring some more people out. I mean, the way kind of touring budgets are these days is the quartet's pretty much what we're able to do, but let's see, a couple other questions. Thanks, guys. I'm glad y'all are digging the music. I really appreciate it. Again, if you haven't gotten the record, go ahead and click that link in the video description. There's all the methods there you can get it. Thank you for tuning in and watching this. The next one will be the next 5 songs. So we'll talk about Starcatchers with Steve Lukather. I'll tell you the story about how he came on board, which actually isn't a very long story. I sent him an email. Steve's a good buddy. We've been knowing each other for a little while, and yeah, man, it's Steve, man. I'm gonna get him on record, So anyhow. Yeah, so that was Voyager 1. That's the front half of the record. We did it. And I'm going to put this back on my channel, so if you guys want to go back and watch something, or if there's something that I said that you didn't like or whatever, you can leave it in the comments or something. But, there was a Voyager 2, but no Voyager 6. Okay, so I wonder how many they sent. I think they were going to Jupiter or something, right? Or Saturn. Or I think they just wanted to see how far it would go. They just, shot it, and they were like, well... It's not coming back, so it's still going. It's somewhere in the galaxy far, far away a long time ago, you know what I mean? Oh yeah, both have left the solar system. I think you're absolutely right. So thank you for tuning in, everybody, spending your evening with me. I really appreciate it. If you have any other questions, real quick, I will try to get them in. I'll stay on for maybe another 2 minutes or something like that. But because I know I'm on OBS here, which means that the sound quality is good, but there's also a bit of a lag with everything. So I want to make sure I don't miss stuff. But how has baritone influenced your regular guitar playing? I don't know if it really has. I mean, I've always been a pretty rhythmic-minded player. Excuse me, the baritone's just kind of another extension of that, you know. I think where I'm at now is I have to decide when I'm writing something if it's going to be a baritone funk, put that in that catalog, or if it's going to be in more of the traditional Mark Lettieri stuff. So I don't know. One of these days I'm just going to have to do like a double album where it's half baritone stuff and half not baritone stuff. So that could be cool. But anyway, well, hey, cool guys and gals. I will say good night to you. What string gauge? These are 14 to 68. I'm trying to think if there's anything left to talk about first 5 songs. I don't know. Does anybody have any questions about the music real quick before I bail? I'm going to unplug this. I think I got to put the kid to bed. You know how it is. We will do the tablature. There will not be any backing tracks. That's not my thing. I don't do that. It's just an artistic thing that I have where I prefer the music to be consumed as full compositions. So I know that might not be what you want to hear, but that's how I envision them to be listened to, is as full compositions, not just sort of guitar karaoke tracks, you know. But I know there are lots of players that do that, and that's totally cool. It's a great thing. Probably I wished I had them when I was coming up and learning, but it's just not really a thing that I do. So maybe in the future, we'll see. I don't know. But yeah, so the record is out on Ground Up in the United States and on Jazzline everywhere else in the world, which is pretty cool. So it's global. It's global, baby. Will you do any more baritone composition for Snarky Bubby? Maybe. I think we're supposed to start recording later on, maybe this year, maybe. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what I can write. I don't know. I just need to write a song for them, regardless. It might not even be on guitar. You were sitting on stage at Wolfpack's concert at MSG. Why didn't you play? Well, it wasn't my gig. I'd already played that night. I just wanted to get out there and have some fun, you know, support the homies. Thank you, Romulo, for purchasing the Jam Play course. I'm glad you like it. I have not considered doing one for the baritone stuff. I think we'll start with the transcriptions, and then maybe I'll do some lessons just kind of through YouTube or something. We'll see. But yeah, plenty more ideas for educational endeavors, I guess, with guitar. But yeah, so I appreciate you guys, and I'm going to go ahead and say goodnight. Be excellent to each other, and we'll see you for part 2. All right, peace.